Today I'm continuing my springtime switch up with the addition to Big Gus back in with the boys. These boys do already know each other, so it shouldn't be too exciting of a reintroduction. Tiny wasted no time this morning getting underfoot while I was trying to watch what exactly Big Gus was going to do out with the boys. I'm a little bit worried he's going to become too close with Pete. They were best buds before I separated them last summer.
Hey, Danny.
With the problems he's been having with his muscles, though, it is really important that he's able to get out as much as possible and move around with horses that he already does know. Pete has matured quite a lot mentally over the last year, so it'll be interesting to see what exactly happens with the addition of Gus back into their herd. Out of all of these horses, he has spent the least amount of time with Whiplash. Come to think of it, they might not have even been turned out together last year. Like all of the other horses, as long as they realize that Whiplash is in charge, they usually don't have a problem with him. It's crazy how shiny these horses are getting now that their winter coats have come out.
Nigel!
I had a few questions on how often I bathe these guys, and they've actually only had one or maybe two baths this entire year. They naturally just get shiny like this because of their nutrition, so if you go up and get really close to them, you'll see that they actually are quite dirty now. Along with adding Gus to the boys, I am going to be turning Ziggy and Scarlet out onto the smaller dry lot. Ziggy, of course, prepared for the occasion by laying down in every single poop pile he could find. Unfortunately, the gator is still at the shop, so I've been slacking a little bit on cleaning up the dry lots lately. I'm going to be really excited when I get it back because I'm already tired of using my little poop cart. These two were out here a little bit last night, and I was hoping Gus would mix in with them, but it didn't work out as I thought it would. It really seems as though Ziggy only likes having one other horse with him, and the addition of anything else is just too overwhelming for him.
You okay?
Tiny seems to be in much better spirits today.
Frisco Bill. Come on, old boy.
Recently, it's been pretty slow going with Frisco's feet. He is just moseying along these days. I actually am getting the feeling that he is starting to grow quite tired of Prim's shenanigans. These two have been staying out as much as possible. It's been really nice in the evening, and during the hottest part of the day, I do bring them inside.
Hey, Prim.
It looks like after running around for less than 5 minutes, the boys have settled down and are munching away. Thankfully, I have 2 carts, one that I can use for hay and one that I can use for poop while the gator is out of commission. Because of Frisco's laminitis, he is not getting out on any grass right now because I don't want to risk him foundering. His boots have been coming off when he is in his stall.
Hey, boys. Hey, Nigel. Hey, little buddy. Some hay.
It's been kind of neat to watch Nigel with the other horses. I think he really does enjoy trying to push them around through the fence. Stewie still feeds him snacks, and little Gus does the most pestering, but Pete generally stays away from him, and Big Gus doesn't quite know what to think of him yet. I was surprised to see that Pete and Big Gus really aren't staying very close together. They definitely remember each other, but I don't think Pete is as concerned about sticking right next to him anymore, which is really nice. Before I moved Whiplash in here, they really didn't have one really strong leader, so I think that has helped a bunch. Overall, there's less fighting, and typically the only one that chases the other horses around is Whiplash. Stewie still gets into his fair share of shenanigans, but if he's getting too out of control, Whiplash shuts it down pretty quickly. It looks like Ziggy and Scarlet have settled in really quickly to their new dry lot. I'm hoping that Ziggy is able to remain calm and doesn't start pacing the fence because he did do quite a bit of that last year while I was trying to find the perfect friend for him. I'm not sure how long it's going to take Studman's foot to heal, so he'll be a good backup friend for Scarlet when I do start taking Ziggy out and about.
What's up, Tiny? Hi, girl. Hey.
After seeing that coyote the other day, I haven't seen very many eagles or hawks swooping down to get these new gophers, so I think Tiny has been pretty busy lately. This little pasture is not ready for the horses to go out on, so it'll probably be maybe another week until I start turning these 2 out. I am going to fence off a smaller section to start just so Scarlet can learn how the wire fence works. As soon as I brought their breakfast out, I noticed that Prim was limping. This round pen has sand and some smaller rocks in it, so I think she just has her feet packed full of material. I was thinking it wouldn't be such a big deal and she would just let me pick out her feet, but it ended up being a whole ordeal this morning. She seemed a little bit annoyed that I was interrupting her breakfast, but allowed me to pick up one of her front feet. Unfortunately, when I went to go get the other one picked out, she decided that she was going to give me the runaround for quite a while. I didn't really want her running around with a foot full of rocks, so I tried to get her to stop, but she just really wanted to prance around this morning. She's been a little bit extra sassy lately, and this morning was really no different. I think this is a pretty good sign that Prim definitely needs to get back to a little bit more work. The horses don't really annoy me very often, but Prim sure has a way of getting under my skin some days. She is a very independent horse. I think part of that is just how she is on her own, and then the fact that she has never been mistreated also helps. Compared to some of the other horses that are scared of their own shadows, basically, Prim is just a different kind of horse to train. When I had her ultrasounded recently at the vet, we did talk about a few different horsey birth control options for Prim. The one that would probably be the best to get her on, I do have to handle myself, and it can be absorbed through human skin. I've used it a lot in the past, but I'm not sure that I want to do that at this current time. She has been on Mayor Magic, which is basically raspberry leaves, and then she was on chaseberry as well, which seemed to help a little bit. This time of year is definitely the hardest for her, what with it being spring and Nigel prancing around. She has been getting anti-inflammatories when she's in heat, even though we could not find any source of pain when she was ultrasounded. It could very well be that this girl just really wants to make some babies. Honestly, getting Prim pregnant would be the easiest way to make her stop coming into heat. I've seriously considered it in the past, even so far as to buying some breedings for her. It has always been my plan to move her onto a new home, but because she is so attached to Frisco, I do worry a lot about him when she leaves. Here recently, I've been trying to have them spend more time apart, and I actually think that's probably the real reason that Frisco colicked really bad. He gets completely beside himself and just runs around while they're apart. At his age, that amount of stress has a really profound effect on him. It does seem, however, that lately, now that they've been spending a lot more time out in the round pen together, that he is growing tired of her antics. I'm really bummed that it didn't work out for Frisco and Pearl to be best friends, because they would have been the perfect match. If you guys have been watching a while, you know that it doesn't always work out between the horses I plan to become friends. Thankfully, it looks like today Big Gus has integrated into this little herd pretty nicely. I'm going to let these boys stay out for about an hour this morning. That is about how long Nigel can handle Stewie's pestering. It does look like these two have torn down the fence a little bit. I do have this kind of screen up so Nigel can't get to any of the grass. Even though these boys are playing relatively nicely, there's always the chance that things will get knocked down. Pete is still pretty apprehensive about being around Nigel. And after a little morning snack in the truck, I am ready to go check on some of the pasture. I filled in the majority of the gopher holes, but every once in a while one pops up and Tiny lets me know where it is.
Oh.
This one isn't too big. The horses could probably step right on top of it and it would be totally fine, but I will end up covering it completely up later. This hole does look like one of their emergency exit holes. It doesn't look like it gets used very often, but there is definitely a little ground squirrel down in there.
I think, Mayor. Little girl.
I had planned on putting a little bit of a visual barrier on top of this fence, but it looks like Scarlet is not really going to need it.
What do you think? To go?
Ziggy really likes being around the action at the barn. He likes getting extra scratches throughout the day, so I'm hoping that he doesn't get too bummed being out farther away from everything. Before Tiny has a complete come apart, I better get all of the horses back in their pens for the day.
Hey, Whip. Careful, buddy, it's on.
I don't think I could have planned it going better for these horses today. Everybody was super chill, except of course Nigel. They will probably have more to say about Big Gus now that they're in the
Good
dry
boys.
lot. I got them some hay bags for extra breakfast. And it looks like Pete is completely mesmerized with Scarlet. These two were next to each other for just a short amount of time. Pete and Stewie were turned out in the small arena while Scarlet was in her stall. While I think these two would get along completely fine, I don't think it's wise to put them together. Pete is just finally now settling into a place in his little herd where he's calm and confident. It is kind of interesting to see Whiplash herd the other horses away from Big Gus just to make sure they don't get too close to him before he gives them the okay. All of these horses are domestic bred horses, even Stewie, who is half Mustang. They do, however, function very much like wild horses when they are in a herd. Everybody has their own little spot, so that is something I think of when I'm putting everybody with new friends. The turds are really starting to pile up in here, and I cannot wait to drag this when the gator gets back. In addition to herding all of the other horses, I have noticed that Whiplash does herd me as well. I had thought that he did just want to spend extra time with me, but I think he's just making sure I don't upset the herd at all. Even back in the dry lot, it looks like Big Gus is pretty much minding his own business. Pete came over to say hello, but he was very quickly distracted by Scarlet again. I'm pretty hopeful that this guy will continue to make progress even though Big Gus is back in here. I did have a lot of questions about Gus's condition on the last video. I think it was the first video I even talked about it. Since it is nice and shiny out today, I think you guys will be able to see the difference in his muscles even though you can't actually feel it. As I run my hand down his butt, you can see that it's much easier to push in some parts of his muscles than others. Here is a comparison on Stewie, who has a little bit of a jiggly booty. Even Pete, who is in tip-top shape right now, has a pretty flaccid hindquarter when he's at rest. With Gus's condition, his muscle fibers get damaged and they seem to never return to normal. It is very tight in some places, and you can see even with the same amount of pressure, you can hardly get it to move. He was normal when I bought him, and then as we began his under saddle training, I started to see these hard spots show up. It was something that I really hoped we could fix, but it seems to be a degenerative condition for Gus. Some spots of his muscles are nice and squishy, and then right next to it, it is hard and very, very firm to touch. We've done a number of things over the years to try and help it, but it seems like there is permanent damage to a lot of these areas. Some therapies that we've tried have actually made it worse. I still think his quality of life is pretty good even though I don't ride him anymore. I have noticed over the last year or so he has been getting more stiff more often. For those of you guys needing an easy way to tell the difference between Little Gus and Big Gus, Little Gus does have socks on the front and Big Gus has them on the back. It seems like everybody in this new little herd found their places pretty quickly. Since Gus tends to be much lower on the totem pole, I think that is probably where he's going to stay. These boys won't get put out on the big pasture until they have completely grazed down their temporary pasture. Since Scarlet cannot go out on temporary fence, I think I am going to let these boys graze the little center pasture as well. Naturally, when they didn't have access to the grass, Stewie wanted to try and get Big Gus to play. Gus, however, really does not do a whole lot of running around these days.
Stewie, doesn't want to play?
I think that Stewie has enough horses to pester that he won't bother Gus too much. For some reason, these two did not want to go in the run-in shed. I've noticed that Ziggy in particular likes to stand out in the blazing hot sun, and Scarlet is much the same. I did notice there is a tiny little gopher hole somewhere underneath the shed, so that might be what's putting them off. With it starting to warm up a little bit more this afternoon, I'm going to have to turn off my little sprinkler system. I'm trying very hard to revitalize the grass that I buried underneath all of the manure. I still have high hopes that it's going to bounce back as long as I keep it watered. It looks like these boys are still getting along totally fine. They do have enough hay to last them well past this evening. While it's not too hot outside for Prim, it is definitely too hot for Frisco Bill just to be standing around. Every year when the grass starts to come up, Prim sticks her head through the fence and rubs out her entire mane, so I'm trying really hard to prevent that this year. I've thought about putting up a different fence or putting panels up maybe. It's not something that I'm going to be able to fix today, but I can take a pass around her pen with the lawnmower to try and get rid of all of the temptation.
Nice try, Mayor.
Hopefully the little snack of grass that I cut into her pen and her hay bag will keep her occupied enough that she doesn't ruin her entire mane.
Boy, Zig.
I think I'm going to take one more spin around just to check on everybody, and then I will head home for lunch. I've got a lot of chores to do this afternoon, but without the gator, it's going to take me 3 times as long.
What's up, Gussie?
I'm not sure if Gus just wanted to eat the leftovers over here or if the other horses were picking on him, but he was completely by himself in a corner when I came back. Gus is a really stoic horse, and sometimes it can be hard to tell when he's in pain. When he's not feeling his best, he does do this thing where he just stands and looks at his butt like it really doesn't feel good. Anti-inflammatories do seem to help this guy, so I'm going to fix him up a little snack and hopefully he'll start to feel a little bit of relief. I have noticed since I've been watering this little area, a ton of little baby gophers have been popping up. Ziggy and Scarlet look like they are completely adjusted to their new little pen.
There they go.
I do think that Ziggy likes having his own personal stall, so hopefully he'll be able to adjust to living with Scarlet 24/7. She is honestly being a lot more quiet than I had anticipated, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Ziggy is in here with her. With them being so calm, I will start turning Studman and Goose out into the big arena tomorrow. I was feeling a little bit bummed out about Gus. After I gave him his anti-inflammatories, he went back to standing in one spot. I'm not sure if it's because he's just new to this little herd or if he is in a lot of pain. With everybody settling into their new spots for the spring and summer, I decided to do a little bit of mowing while I observed Gus and the other horses. After a while, I noticed Stewie trying to get Gus to play again. I am wondering if he had been pestering him all day, but it looks like they are both staying pretty calm right now. It looks like Pete has definitely matured to where he doesn't need to be as close to Gus as before. I'm hoping that maybe Gus is just recovering from when he ran around yesterday with Scarlet and Ziggy. It is getting closer to dinner, and it does look like these horses still have quite a bit of food left to eat. I'm going to spend some time stewing on Gus this evening while I mow. With the sun still shining and no rainstorms in sight, it is the perfect evening for me to get everything mowed up. After I was done mowing, I got everybody their dinner. I made sure to place multiple hay piles around so Gus had enough space to eat if the other horses were picking on him. My little killdeer friend were out and about hunting for bugs in the moist ground. And once Gus's anti-inflammatories kicked in, it looks like he was able to move around a little bit easier.
Whip.
Thank you guys so much for watching and stay tuned for the next video.